Commissioner. Good morning, everyone. I came by here to our Emergency Operations Center to, first of all, thank the individuals who come day and night, working 24/7 to keep New Yorkers safe. So I wanted to first acknowledge all the first responders and those who are in rooms like this across the state, but also out in our communities and on the streets. We sleep safer at night, and we are safer during a storm like this because of their hard work. This is certainly the coldest weather we've seen, the coldest winter storm we've seen in years, and truly New York State is locked into a grip here. An Arctic siege has taken over our state and many other states across the nation. And the snowstorm we've been expecting is now underway, but it is brutal, it is bone-chilling, and it is dangerous. Snow began falling already on Long Island and New York City early this morning. Snow is now falling in Albany and everywhere in between. As I mentioned, we're not alone. It's hitting the entire state and 30 states as well this weekend. So we are anticipating the longest cold stretch and the highest snow totals the state has seen in several years. The longest cold stretch and the highest snow totals in years. Already, records in the state have been shattered. Shocking reports out of Watertown. Actual temperature in Watertown was minus 34 and minus 49 in Copenhagen. That is not the real feel. That is not the wind chill. That is actual temperature. We warned this to be dangerously cold, and it is not it's been unrelenting. Friday, temperatures across the state were as low as minus 40 to minus 20 and felt as cold as minus 30 to minus 50. But I know New Yorkers know how to deal with the weather, and again, I've been at this Emergency Operations Center to see how impressive our operations are. Always want to take a chance to thank the plow drivers, the hospital workers, and all the emergency and essential personnel who are there. As you know, I declared a state of emergency on Friday. Since then, to enhance our response, we've deployed over 100 National Guard members. Many of them are concentrated downstate at this time to go where they're needed, and also to particularly help on Long Island and the Hudson Valley and New York City. We've also taken some steps to make our roads safer. Banning long tandem tractor trailers on the thruway as of 6 a.m. today. Commercial vehicles are right now restricted to the right lane only on state roads, and 2 counties have full travel bans in place, Dutchess and Ulster, and additional travel advisories and restrictions are all over the state. We have, as I mentioned, deployed additional resources. We have additional DOT personnel who have been all over the state. I mentioned the other day we have countless snow plows and lifts and all the equipment that's necessary, plenty of salt. We've been stocking up on salt in anticipation that our plow drivers would need this to keep the roads clear. And for parents in New York City, about an hour ago, the mayor announced that schools will move to remote learning tomorrow. So to the snow forecast, everyone across the state should prepare for a solid day and a half of this weather. And the heaviest snow will still be coming this afternoon and through the night. And this will continue through most of the weekend or most of the day tomorrow, but we expect it to end by midday. So here's some of the totals we expect. 8 to 12 inches in the North Country, 12 to 18 in the southern tier, Mohawk Valley, central New York, and even parts of the Finger Lakes, including Rochester and western New York. So we've had some changes in the recommendations from National Weather Service, but I also want to make a point here. A number of years ago, we created the State Weather Risk Communication Center. This is the first in the nation state-of-the-art facility, which I've toured many times, that gives us daily weather briefs. And they're willing to go out and forecast across the state snowfalls and temperatures even out through the next weekend, which is further than the National Weather Service does at this time. What that means is we have earlier information about longer-term impacts that we can prepare for. Deploy the resources, the personnel, the equipment. So I find this, once again, to be critically important in our response and our preparations and our response to storms like this. So we're continuing to see a lot of snow, about 1 to 2 inches an hour in New York City and the Long Island area. They're expecting, as I said, up to 8 to 12 inches of snow, which is something that's more challenging to handle in that area than other parts of our state. We're also transitioning to sleet tonight. Sleet is dangerous. Sleet can also create icy, hazardous conditions on the roads and sidewalks. And we've not seen, New York City, as I mentioned, is going to see a foot of snow. We've not had that level of snow since 2021, so it's been a number of years. The good news for us, and the only good news, is that the winds will not be a major factor here. This is often what we worry the most about, is power lines coming down, the wind having squalls on the thruway, and the visibility goes to zero, and you have the multi-vehicle collisions. We're not expecting that, but there could be isolated squalls in certain areas, so we're still not out of the woods on that, but it's not going to be a statewide high wind event either. There are parts of Long Island and New York City that could gust up to 30, 35 miles an hour, so this is a factor as well. We're not expecting widespread power outages, as I mentioned, but that being said, it's always better to be prepared in advance, and we have 5,500 linemen and women ready to restore power if necessary. And Con Ed has brought in mutual additional assistance as well. So what about traveling, those who are going to be on the roads? Number one, if you can be off the roads, that is the best advice. Stay off the roads. They're going to be slick, icy, snow-covered. And if you can stay home with these extremely cold temperatures and hazardous roads, you and your family will be much, much safer. So tomorrow's commute for those who are working. We encourage other employers to allow their workers, if possible, to work remotely. We know there's many who cannot. And I thank our nurses and hospital personnel and medical personnel across the state who know they have to be out there, our first responders and others. But if you can avoid travel, we'd want to have that happen as well, as much as possible. As I mentioned, state employees are working remotely on Monday. So we also want to make sure the plows can get through. Commissioner Dominguez knows this, and I've been a passenger in a plow, and the biggest concern they have is their own visibility and making sure that they can do their jobs without worrying about the other vehicles around them. So do this to help not just yourself stay safe on the roads, but also our plow drivers. And the good news for downstate, those who rely on public transportation, the MTA is planning on maintaining a weekend schedule. Trains and buses will continue to run. Again, this is always subject to change. We'll be focused on snow removal on platforms and near stations, but we're concerned about keeping people safe as they get to their jobs. We also have a number of special elections scheduled for Tuesday, February 3rd, and so the ones that are in New York City, in that area, we're going to be suspending early voting for today and tomorrow. So we want to make sure people mark their calendars if they want to vote early. We will be adding extra hours to help compensate for that. So, New Yorkers, stay home, hunker down, root against the Patriots. That's up to you personally, personal decision. But also sign up for text alerts so you can be up to date with all the information we want to share with you. 333-111 will get you, after you type in your county and your borough, you'll get everything you need to know. And monitor all the local forecasts and warnings. Couple of things, as a pro in shoveling snow myself, make sure that I'll give you a quick demonstration. Do not bend over to shovel, you bend down your knees. You want to bend down so you can protect your back. Also, you don't have to have a high amount of snow on the shovel. I'll give you a demonstration outside if you want. But neighbors of mine have had heart attacks from shoveling too much snow. It's better to take multiple smaller bites at it, lift smaller amounts of snow, toss it aside, but do not try to go for the big, massive shovel full of snow because regardless of your health, this could be cause a heart attack or a cardiac attack as well. So also, if you're indoors, and you will be indoors, test your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in case you have to use indoor space heaters. Dress in layers, cover every part of your body. I was outside yesterday, I had face wrapped up in a scarf, ears covered, hand warmers in the gloves. There are ways to protect if you must be out there. I've mentioned before how important it is to make sure your vehicle can save your life if necessary. Again, you must consider the worst case scenarios when you're going out. You do not know that what you think is just a safe ride to the grocery store or an appointment can result in you going off the road and having to rely on your vehicle if you're stuck in a snowbank. We've talked about having extra phone chargers. Make sure your phone is charged. Blankets, water, food, anything you think you would need to protect you. And also protecting your pipes from freezing. Another pro tip, just takes a long towel from the bathroom, roll it up, and stick it in front of the door. can stop a lot of wind from coming in, or use the plastic sheets that you put on the windows with a blow dryer. It's kind of a fun thing to do. So also, this is a time to be a good neighbor. You know, check on your elderly neighbors. I have shoveled the sidewalks of my neighbors when I was growing up. It's what we always did, our neighbors next door. Also, watch out for pets. I know many of them have to go outside, but keep an eye on them and don't let them stay outside too long. So the bottom line is this. We're not through it. This is sort of the beginning. We've been talking about this for days. Different parts of our state are being affected differently at different times, but this is a statewide event. It is unrelenting. We don't expect any relief from this forecast at this time. And all of our state agencies, I just had a chance to thank them a few minutes ago. They are working tirelessly around the clock, and we're going to continue being flexible. So, as I mentioned, we have had some of the coldest nights of the entire year, and also some of them record lows. So I want to make sure that we are protecting everybody. Be smart, exercise caution, and look out for each other. So let me turn it over to Acting Commissioner of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Terry O'Leary, to go through our other state preparations.
Thank you, Governor. And Governor, I'd like to say thank you very much for coming to the EOC today to see the staff. What you see today in the EOC is the nerve center of the state's response to any crisis or emergency. And today we have not only representatives from the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, but also from our partner agencies. And what they're doing is they're bringing in information from throughout the state. They're seeing where resources need to go to help answer any task that's in front of us, and they deploy those resources. And what you saw in that other room are some of the nation's best emergency management professionals. It's not only the division that is working. We also have representatives from the Department of Environmental Conservation, the National Guard, the Department of Transportation, State Police, ITS, State Fire, our Parks Department, Thruway, as well as our partners from the National Weather Service. I'd also like to thank those who are working in emergency management that are not in the facility. As the Governor mentioned, there are emergency operation centers operating throughout the state in localities and counties, and New York State is helping to support those, and those include New York City Emergency Management, Nassau, Suffolk, Ulster, Orange, and Monroe County, as well as Dutchess, Sullivan, and Westchester. And we also have staff working with Buffalo as well. The Governor told you about the weather, what we're seeing. It's important to note that we will see a change in New York City and on Long Island, where it will switch over from snow to freezing rain and ice this afternoon, and that will last through around midnight when it will switch back to snow. This will make for dangerous travel. Thankfully, though, we are forecasting very low amounts of ice accumulation. We do not expect power outages and downed power lines. It is important to know, though, if you see a down power line, treat it as if it is live. Stay at least 30 feet away and call 911. There is no rest from the weather in New York. Immediately after this snowstorm, we are going to see a lake effect storm come in, and thanks to our friends at the Nice Work, they have forecasted that we will see snow bands setting up both off of Ontario County as well as Ontario as well as Lake Erie. That will start Tuesday night and will go through Thursday. We're also going to be seeing extended cold. These cold temperatures will last through the weekend. So that's important. The Governor gave you tips on how to shovel. Start shoveling early. There isn't going to be a thaw over the course of the next week. So get that snow off of your sidewalk and out of your driveway as early as possible. Part of the state response, we have banned long tandem tractor trailers on the thruway starting at 6 a.m. this morning. And as the Governor mentioned, on all state roads, commercial vehicles need to stay in the right-hand lane. In addition to the travel bans in Dutchess and Ulster County, individuals should check their local county's websites for any additional travel restrictions in their area. Long Island Railroad and Metro North are going to be operating on a Sunday service schedule, as will the Capital District Transportation Agency. If you are flying, please check ahead of time. This is a nationwide event. The weather will not only impact our flights, but it will impact flights coming from throughout the country. So make sure that you check before you go to the airport. We've already seen cancellations of up to 90% at different airports. To reiterate what the governor said, please stay home. Don't be on the roads. Allow DOT and thruway plow operators to do their job. Do not crowd the plow. If you have to travel, please check 511ny.org first. It is a great source of information on the status of the roads statewide. It will tell you where there are incidents, and you can look at traffic cameras as well and actually see the conditions of the roads for yourself. Continue to be prepared for the bitterly cold temperatures we've been experiencing. They're not going away. Hopefully we won't see anything like we saw in Watertown or Copenhagen, but we are going to see sub-zero temperatures throughout the state over the course of the next few days. Code Blue will remain in effect, so throughout the state, under the guidance of the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, we will make sure that shelters are available to those who need them. Also, counties will stand up warming centers. If you do lose power, call 211 and they will tell you in your area where you can find a warming shelter. As the governor mentioned, we do not expect widespread power outages, but if you do experience a power outage, please call your utility company to report it. If you are going to be using alternative heating sources, make sure you do so safely. Make sure it is a UL approved space heater. Keep it 3 feet away from any furniture, from drapes and the rest. If you're using a generator for power, never use a generator indoors, and do not keep it right outside your windows either. Please make sure your fire smoke detector and carbon monoxide detectors are working. And finally, if you are going to travel, and I have to tell my kids this all the time, they will get into their car after they heat it up wearing shorts and a t-shirt thinking I'm only driving a couple of miles to the gym. Have a jacket, have a blanket. You need to be prepared to be stuck for a while. And also make sure you can get yourself unstuck as well. Have a shovel, have kitty litter in the car, have something, if you have a truck, have a tow rope so that someone else can help you if you're stuck, or you can help somebody if they're stuck. And most importantly, obey the move over law. If you see our first responders out there, please move over if it is safely possible. Allow state police, other first responders, tow truck operators to do their job and to help others, and don't compound any issues that we may see. And with that, I'd like to say, Governor, thank you again for coming and joining us here today.
Thank you. I also want to acknowledge the presence of my incredible team as we get through this crisis. And I mentioned Marie-Therese Dominguez, the New York State Department of Transportation. She is a battle-tested veteran. We've been through many of these challenges before, and I'm so proud of the work that she and the men and women who work for her do as well. And Frank Hoare, the Executive Director of the New York State Thruway Authority, the lifeline of upstate New York connecting us with downstate, and how important it is to keep the commerce as well as the commuters and residents safe on those roads. So thank you, Frank. And also our state police out there day and night, making sure that our roads are safe and that they're there to respond to any situation that requires additional help. And I want to thank Major Robert McConnell for his support here as well. Before we get to questions, I need to speak plainly about something that should stop every American in their tracks. Yesterday in Minneapolis, federal immigration agents killed another American citizen in broad daylight. His name was Alex Preddy. He was 37 years old. He was an ICU nurse, someone whose job was saving lives. Video shows him doing something he was trained to do, to help people. He was trying to reach over and help a woman in need when she was thrown to the ground by federal agents. And within seconds, federal agents threw him to the ground and fired a shot, not one, but a barrage of bullets into his body on a public sidewalk in America. The federal government claims the killing was justified. This nurse with nothing more than a cell phone in his hand, that he was trying to kill them. That's their story. But anyone who's seen this horrific video, multiple videos, knows that this is a shameless, bold-faced lie. This is not a threat that needs to be neutralized. It was a civilian exercising the free right to protest. And this is a continuation of a deadly pattern, a pattern of violence. It is well known that earlier this month, federal agents also shot a mother of 3 in the face when she just extended a greeting to him. 2 American families destroyed. Confidence in federal law enforcement shattered. At the same time, ICE agents are arresting children. A 5-year-old returning from preschool, using them as bait. A 2-year-old taken on the way home from a grocery store with her dad. Now we have children caught up in armed engagement, scooped off the street by masked men, while our federal leaders feed the false narratives instead of taking responsibility. But videos don't lie. And don't stop believing what your eyes tell you. Their cruelty, these incidences, what is going on and unfolding in the streets of America today, shocks the conscience of every human being with a heart. When federal agents use lethal force against civilians and then prevent state authorities from fully investigating, it violates the basic principles of a democracy. What it does is makes everyone feel unsafe. Everyone. Nationwide, over the last 13 months, ICE has detained hundreds of U.S. citizens, and dozens of people have died in their custody. Now, Donald Trump's handpicked leader of the Department of Homeland Security has proven to be unable and unwilling to follow the law to stop these killings. Kristi Noem has referred to these peaceful protesters as domestic terrorists and lied about the shooting victims being the aggressors. She told law enforcement officers to put on masks and military fatigues to basically treat the American public as the enemy. She has shown a profound disregard for human life and created a culture where people feel unrestrained in how they're handling encounters with the people in this country. Kristi Noem has forfeited her right to lead, and I'm calling on her to resign as Secretary of Homeland Security, or Donald Trump to do the right thing and just fire her. And if not, she must be removed or impeached. And Gregory Bovino, who has helped lead and defend and escalate these operations, should also be fired. It's a shame I have to say this in America, but no one is above the law. No one. Not an ICE agent, not a federal officer, not the President of the United States. And make no mistake, when these people who have abused the power entrusted to them by their offices are finally out of power, states, including New York, will hold them accountable. I'll have more to report on further actions the state of New York will be taking in the upcoming days. I'll take any questions.
Any weather-related questions? Governor Hochul, obviously, you've been through some of these big storms. I think back a couple of years ago, the holiday storm in Buffalo obviously was a major one. That was really specific to that area, though. This is the first storm that you've seen really that is hitting the entire state. How much more difficult does it make it to prepare for a storm like that, knowing it goes from New York City to Buffalo and really beyond the entire Northeast?
Certainly it is a challenge because when you're deciding where to deploy all your resources, your utility crews, your extra plows, the personnel, additional state police, you have to look at the state as a whole. But I'm working with the most seasoned veterans you can imagine. They tabletop exercises like this all year long. even the hot days of summer, they're thinking of these scenarios. And it is a worst-case scenario when every part of the state is vulnerable to these extreme, brutal colds, which are life-threatening, as well as the volume of snow that some parts of the state are not accustomed to dealing with. So it is a challenge, but not one that we haven't prepared for, that we prepared for in this specific event, having the early warning in advance of what is coming, getting the message out to New Yorkers on what they can do to keep themselves safe, and then we'll get through it. So I feel confident in the team that I have assembled to manage these storms.
Any others, guys? Obviously, the thruway is only close to those tractor trailers, the tandem trailers right now, but when will you look at if it's going to be necessary to potentially close it to all traffic?
I'll let the executive director address that. It's something we always keep an eye on. I have been in so many emergency operations, monitoring the snowfall on the thruway, how fast vehicles are going, whether or not there's visibility. It is something we do intensely, and we want to keep motorists safe, but also make sure we can keep the flow of commerce going through our state, because you also end up, when you close the thruway, there's a ripple effect on the adjoining roads, and you can create another situation. So you have to be very smart about when to do that. We've done both. We've made a decision to, with lots of restrictions, keep the traffic going. We've also had other times we've had to declare that it's just not safe and we have to shut it down. Frank, is there anything you want to add to that?
Thank you, Governor. Just that safety is our paramount concern, and we're in constant communication with our partners in state and local government to ensure that the road will stay open, but in a safe and drivable manner.
Anything else?
All right, guys, thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone. All right. All right, thanks, Secretary. Thanks, Good luck out there. All right. It's going to be a long one. Listen.